checklists and why they are important. So I'm reading this book called the Checklist Manifesto. It's about a doctor and how them making checklists on certain things reduced infections and deaths and all this other stuff in hospital, like ICUs, by like a huge amount because people forget to do little things, right? So this is more like real estate relevant about I actually made a bunch of checklists back in the day and figured I would share. So when do you make a checklist, right? You pretty much, I always made one if I had to do one thing more than once. And there's a lot of things that we do more than once, and pretty much just to make sure you don't forget a little step there, right? Even though all the little steps are really simple and easy to remember, when you're doing it, you might forget to do it, right? So that's why it's important, because we're all human and it's easy to forget things. So for my like process, let's say for like tenants, right? From the time you get a new tenant to the time they move out, right? I have all my forms numbered. So from 1 to whatever, however many forms there are, all those forms are numbered, and depending on what step, right, it's all in order. And so the checklists come in is, let's say like when you move in, when you have a tenant move in, you have a tenant, so not you, but you might want to do this, you might not, depends on how you do it, right? So like at a property management company, we have a move-in checklist and a move-out checklist. And then for the move-in checklist, for example, we have like the tenant move-in checklist. And then we have a tenant or a checklist for the landlord. So why we have a checklist for the tenant is, excuse me, when you get a new tenant, they need to provide all these things before they move in, right? From filling in the application to rental insurance to if you require a certified check for the first payment along with the security deposit, if you require whatever you require, you want to have a checklist for all that stuff, right? So there's a checklist for the tenant that they get to make sure that when it's time to sign the lease, they have every single thing that we require, right? And then there's a checklist for the landlord, right? Or the agent that's signing the lease with the tenant. So all that stuff I pulled up, so that's a move out one. So let me give you an example of what you would have on like a move-in checklist for the landlord, right? So it's pretty much mirrors the tenant move-in checklist, where you want to have the rental insurance, the paid disclosures, the lease signed, the inventory checklist, you have the security deposit, first month's rent, you give keys to the tenants, and you record how many keys, the garage door opener, if there's a garage, the keypad, if there is a keypad. You have to tell them the day the garbage day is, how yard waste works, and that's if it's a house, for example, right? You tell them about the furnace filters. You cover all these different things. You show them where the water valve is in case some crazy stuff happens and there's water everywhere. They can go shut the water off so the whole place doesn't get right. So all these different things are on a checklist. So that way the landlord, the tenant can all go through and check. And I think it's very useful. So I hope this video helped, and I hope that you utilize checklists for whatever you're doing. I found them very, very useful, and I want to see if you've come up with checklists for whatever you're doing that has made a huge difference in productivity or whatever else. So hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.